Good morning, students. So today's class is about pons. So what is pons? Pons, it is the middle part of brainstem. Okay, so this is the brainstem and it is the middle part of brainstem. Above there is a midbrain and below there is a medulla. Okay, again what is meaning of pons? Pons, it means of bridge. It is a bridge between the two cerebellar hemisphere. Okay, and it is 2.5 centimeter long and forms the upper part of the floor of the ventricle. Okay, then what are the functions of pons? So as already I have told that it connects the medulla and midbrain. Again, it transmit information from spinal cord and higher center region via neural circuits. It acts as a relay motor information between cerebral cortex and cerebellar cortex. Now the external feature of the pons, its length is about 2.5 centimeter long. It has a dorsal surface, and this is the dorsal surface and this is the ventral surface. Ventral surface is also known as anterior surface, while dorsal surface also known as a posterior surface. The anterior surface or ventral surface is convex in both direction. You can see there the transversely running fibers of pontocerebellar fibers. On the ventral surface is convex in all direction, but at the median plane there is one groove called as a basilar groove that lodges the basilar artery. Okay, then at this dorsal surface here, on ventral surface, there is one root, that is the larger sensory root, and smaller motor root of trigeminal nerves are present. Okay, then the pons, it has a superior border. This is superior border and this is the inferior border. On the superior border, two nerves are emerges. These are the oculomotor and the trochlear nerve, while the inferior border, that is at the junction of pontomedullary junction between pons and medulla, three cranial nerves from medial to laterals are abducent, facial and vestibular cochlear nerves. Okay, then the dorsal part of the pons are covered by means of cerebellum and is separated and form its cavity. These are the fourth ventricle. Okay, so dorsal surface of pons is a triangular in shape and it will form the upper part of fourth ventricle. Okay, then the superior border and the inferior border. Then when we study the internal structure of pons at any level, you can see the two distinct regions. These are the large ventral, is also called as the basilar part, and this is the tegmental part. Okay, so it basically divided into, this is the basilar part and this is the tegmental part. Okay, this basilar or ventral part, below it continues with the medulla, and the tegmental part upward continues with then the structures of basilar part of pons is same in all section, while the tegmental parts are different at the different level. Okay, so first we'll see the basilar part is composed of longitudinal bundles. Okay, so these are the longitudinal bundles, transverse fibers and the pontine nucleus. The longitudinal bundles, these are the longitudinal bundle, it include the corticopontine, corticonuclear and corticospinal fiber. These are the corticopontine fibers, okay, that relays in the ipsilateral pontine nucleus. Then these are the corticonuclear fibers terminates in the contralateral fibers, and some are the corticospinal fibers that go downwards to form lower part of pons and form the pyramid of medulla. Okay, then there are the transverse fibers. These are the transverse fibers arises in pontine nucleus and crosses to the opposite side to form the middle cerebellar peduncle. So this is the middle cerebellar peduncle. Okay, then the pontine nucleus. Okay, these small black color dots are pontine nuclei, form an important part of corticopontocerebellar pathway. Okay, then this is the trapezoid part. The trapezoid part is traversed by number of ascending and descending tracts, contain decussation running fibers, trapezoid body, then the abducens nerve, trigeminal nerve, facial nerve, and vestibular cochlear nerve. Okay, when we are going to study the internal structures, these are studied at the two level. First is at the lower part of pons, at the it includes the facial colliculus, and in upper part it includes motor and sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve. Okay, so this is the section, transverse section through the lower part of the pons. So whenever you are going to study the transverse section, you have to study in the two part, that is the gray matter and the white matter. First we'll see the gray matter. Okay, as already I've told you that the basilar part will be same. So this is the basilar part is same. So I have already told that basilar part is same in all section of pons, only the tegmental parts are different. So in each section we are only going to discuss the tegmental part. Okay, then this gray matter, in a gray matter it consists of abducent nucleus. So this red color is the abducent nucleus, lies the facial colliculus. So this is winding, you can see blue color winding is, this is facial colliculus. Then this is the motor nucleus of facial nerve, lies ventrolateral to this abducent nucleus. The fibers of facial nerve first wind round the abducent nucleus to form the facial colliculus. Okay, one terminology is neurobiotexis. What is neurobiotexis? During early development, this facial nerve lies dorsolateral to the abducent nucleus. Okay, as during migration to occupy the optimum position, this facial nucleus started to wind up around this abducent nucleus to reach this position ventromedial to this nucleus and nearer to the spinal nucleus, okay, of trigeminal tract. So such migration of motor nucleus of facial nerve towards the sensory nucleus is called as a neurobiotexis. Okay, then you can see superior and inferior salivatory and lacrimatory nucleus are there. The nucleus of tractus solitarius are there. Then the vestibular nucleus, these are the vestibular nucleus you can also see. Then you can see the ventral and the dorsal cochlear nucleus is there, and this is the inferior cerebellar peduncle is there. Okay, so this is all about the gray matter of pons. Now we'll see the white matter of pons. In white matter of pons, this is the trapezoid body. Trapezium, it is a trapezium shape. How it forms? It forms by the transversely running fiber of this cochlear nucleus. Okay, so this cochlear nucleus, it forms trapezoid body. Then you can see this is the medial lemniscus. Medial lemniscus, it consists of fasciculus gracilis and cuneatus fiber, and the medial lemniscus rotates in a such a way that fibers from nucleus cuneatus are medial to those of nucleus gracilis. Then lateral to this there is a spinal lemniscus. Spinal lemniscus is made up of anterior and lateral spinothalamic tract. Okay, then tactus spinal tract and the spinothalamic spinal tract of trigeminal nerve. And the lateral lemniscus is not formed at this level. Okay, so have you understood this at the TS at the lower part of pons? Now we'll move to the upper part of pons. Again it will divide it into the gray matter and the white matter. In a gray matter is main thing you can see on most medial part, it is the motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve, and lateral to it there is a main sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve, and between these two you can see this is the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve. Okay, and along with this gray matter you can see abducent nerve, facial nerve, and vestibular cochlear nerves are absent at this level. Okay, Then the motor nucleus of situated dorsolateral, okay, beneath the lateral part of fourth ventricle. Again you can see this is the cavity, okay, you can see this is the cavity of the lateral ventricle, okay. So this is the cavity you can see of the ventricle, okay. So dorsolaterally, posterior laterally, it is bonded by superior cerebellar peduncle, okay. So this is the cavity of fourth ventricle, and above it is bonded by the superior medullary venom, okay. Then this is the principal or main sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve, situated lateral to the motor nucleus, okay. Caudally it is continuous with the, yes, that is the spinal tract of trigeminal nerve, and rostrally with the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve, okay. You can see this is the locus coeruleus, that is nucleus pigmentosus pontis, extend from the lower part of midbrain to this at this level, okay. Then now we'll see the white matter, okay. Here you can see the lateral lemniscus is formed at this level, okay. Lateral lemniscus is formed at this level. So you can see from medial to lateral lemniscus are the medial lemniscus. Then this is the trigeminal lemniscus, consists of the trigeminothalamic tract. Then this is the spinal lemniscus, and this is the lateral lemniscus, okay. If you in short divide both this level, okay, so in lower part of pons you can see gray matter, what you can see 7, 8, okay, 6, 7, 8 cranial nerves, while in upper part you can see 5th cranial nerve, okay. In white matter you can see 2 lemnisci are there, medial and spinal lemnisci are there, while in the lower part all 4 lemnisci can be seen, okay. Now we'll move towards the blood supply of pons. So basically this get blood supply from the pontine branch of basilar arteries. This is the basilar artery which is lodges in basilar groove. So these are the pontine branches. Then this is the anteroinferior cerebellar artery, and this is the superior cerebellar artery. It supplies to the pons, okay. Then venous drainage, it will drainage into inferior petrosal sinus and basilar plexus, okay. Now moving to this clinical anatomy. And clinical anatomy, first is a Milliard-Gubler syndrome, or also called as alternating facial hemiplegia or medial inferior pontine syndrome. It results from the lesion in the lower part of pons, okay, paramedial branches of basilar artery. So it involves the 7th cranial nerve. So due to involvement of 7th cranial nerve, there is ipsilateral Bell's palsy, hyperacusis, and loss of taste sensation. Due to involvement of pyramidal tract, there is a contralateral hemiplegia. Due to involvement of abducent nerve, there is a ipsilateral medial squint is there, okay. So thus the term abducent alternating hemiplegia sometimes is used, as there is a ipsilateral medial squint and contralateral hemiplegia is there. Then next is a cerebellopontine syndrome or pontocerebellar syndrome, okay. So in this there is involvement of 7th and there is involvement of 7th and 8th cranial nerves, flocculus of cerebellum, and choroid plexus of 4th ventricle. It is occurred due to the acoustic neuroma in the patient, okay. So what are the characteristic symptoms? Due to involvement of 8th cranial nerve, patient will having persistent tinnitus. Then the progressive deafness is also a suggestive of cerebellopontine syndrome. Then nystagmus, nausea, vomiting, and the vertigo. Next is the cerebellar. If cerebellum is involved, the patient will having developed tremor, ataxia, and dysmetria. So that is ipsilateral cerebellar signs will be present, okay. Due to involvement of spinal trigeminal nucleus and tract, there is ipsilateral loss of pain and temperature sensation from the face, okay. And due to involvement of facial nerve, ipsilateral Bell's palsy, hyperacusis, and loss of taste. Then the pontine hemorrhage. So the pontine hemorrhage may be due to occurred involvement of branches of basilar or anterior inferior cerebellar artery, and if pontine hemorrhage is extensive and bilateral, the patient will present following symptoms. First is a pinpoint pupil, but it will be a reactive pupil, so it will react to the light. Why it occurs? It is occurred due to the ocular sympathetic fibers involvement. Then next is the hyperpyrexia, due to severe damage to the pons and the body is cut off from heat regulating centers in the hypothalamus. Then there is abrupt onset of coma due to involvement of reticular fibers formation, and bilateral paralysis of face and the limbs due to involvement of facial nerve and corticospinal fibers, and ataxia breathing pattern. This is all about pons. Thank you.